Welcome to Church in the Raw. I'm Don. Thank you so much for stopping by for today's video. All right, if you are an open air preacher, kind of early in your preaching experience, or if you're not an open air preacher, but you feel called of God to be so, and you're starting to get some traction in that, and you're praying and asking God for some direction, I think this video will provide you a lot of help. So today's video, we're going to be talking about the use of amplification for your voice while you're outdoors. So first of all, let me say that while you're preaching outdoors in the open air, I always opt for no amplification if I can get the job done without it. The natural voice is the best. If you don't use a good quality amplification device, it makes your voice sound tinny or metallic, and that can be a little bit distracting for the listener. So just the natural human voice is the best. But some people don't have a voice that they can really project very well or very far, or maybe you have a health issue and you just can't really use your diaphragm and project out. And so amplification would be great in that situation. But let me just say the first and the best is if it's appropriate and if it's going to get the job done for the folks that you want to reach at that particular event, then just the natural voice is best. Now, obviously, you're not going to be speaking in your normal tone of voice. You're going to be up several decibels. You're not going to be screaming. You never want to do that because that just sounds offensive to people. But you want to speak loudly and project from your diaphragm. So I can speak loudly right now without yelling. See, I've raised it several decibels, but my tone is not offensive, and my tone is people can really hear it and understand it well. So that's what you want to do. You want to stop short of screaming or yelling, and you just want to be able to project it. Now, a couple things to keep in mind, whether you are or are not using amplification, you want to try and always avoid standing right next to the people that you're trying to reach. So, for example, if I'm right on the edge of a public sidewalk and there's some heavy foot traffic going by me, I'm obviously not going to use amplification because there's people within 3 feet of me. I'm going to use my voice, and I'm going to raise and lower my voice based on when a crowd of people go by. I'm going to lower it so they can hear as they pass by. Then I see people coming, I might raise it and then tend to lower it as they come by. Here's the most common mistake that young open air preachers make all the time. They want to kind of twofold. One is they want to reach everybody within the sight of their eye. So they may be standing on a street corner and there's foot traffic on that street corner, but they can see people a block down and there's a big crowd 100 yards away. Well, they want to try and reach these people and those people. They want to reach everybody they can. Well, in order to reach those people, you're going to blow the eardrums out of the people that are 15 feet away from you. So you're not going to reach them. You're just going to get them really mad at you and accomplish nothing. So you've got to take that into consideration. You're not trying to reach everybody within eyesight. You're trying to reach the crowd of people that is within, let's say, certainly not more than 50 yards away, maybe even 20 yards or 30 yards, depending on the venue and the environment you're in. But you are not, if you want to reach that crowd of people that's 200 yards away, then you need to pack up and move over there and reach them. Don't get on a really loud amplification device like a bullhorn and blast it out trying to reach those people way over yonder, and you're just blowing the eardrums out of the people that are right next to you. That gets everybody mad, and it gives preachers, street preachers, a really bad reputation. In fact, don't ever use a bullhorn. Don't ever use a bullhorn. How many times have you heard people that complain about street preachers? The complaint is always the same. That guy's screaming out there into his bullhorn. He's out there with his bullhorn. It's always a comment about the bullhorn, whether he's using a bullhorn or not. He's out there using his bullhorn. So never use literally a bullhorn, because as soon as people see that, they see a street preacher, they see you holding a bullhorn, immediately they're going to psychologically, they're going to turn you off, because there is such a a bad image about street preachers with bullhorn. So never use a bullhorn if you're going to use amplification device. I'll get to those in a minute. But one of the most important things is to be appropriate decibels based on the distance that your audience is from you, okay? So you should always have an audience that's not more than 50 yards away. I also do not recommend, if there's any way to reach the audience without doing it, I recommend not standing within a few feet of them. Like, try not to stand right on the edge of a busy sidewalk. If there's a busy sidewalk or street corner that's just got a ton of people and you want to reach those people passing by, that's great. But find a spot 20 or 30 feet away from the sidewalk where you can project it over to them, okay? So a good way to test it is the people that you're projecting your voice to, they should be able to have a conversation amongst themselves and continue that conversation, yet still hear you. So they have a choice. They can hear you and understand you, and they can mentally tune you out if they choose to. Okay, that's their choice. You never want to pound them with volume and make them listen. You want them to be able to hear you and clearly understand your message, but you want them to be able to have a normal conversation between themselves. So if they decide to tune you out and reject the gospel, that's on them. They should be able to still have their conversation, okay? Now, if they can have their conversation, they can't really hear you or understand you because you're too quiet, well, then you're not reaching them. So you need to find that happy medium. When I have somebody with me, I will send them out and I will talk either in my normal voice or with my amplification device. I will talk. I'll send them out. I'll say, go out 20 feet. Okay, can you hear me? Can you understand me? Go out another 10 feet. And so I'll do a test and gauge my effectiveness at certain distances. Another thing you want to take into consideration is your environment. Right now I have bushes behind me and around me, and so my voice is going to just kind of travel through all the landscaping here. But let's say I was in a downtown area. I'm in downtown Phoenix and I'm projecting to people as they're walking in the stadium. I'm going to want to go on the other side of the street corner up against a building and have a high-rise building behind me. And my voice, I can use that building to help echo my voice out that way. So I can effectively reach people across a 4-lane city street as they're milling around on that street corner, getting ready to enter the stadium. I can effectively reach them by being all the way across the street and not having to use any amplification. As long as I can raise my voice without screaming and yelling and project, that wall will help bounce my voice off to them. So you really want to give a lot of thought to your area. You want to test it with the person you take with you. You should always have somebody with you when you're open air preaching for lots of various reasons. I won't get into all those today. It might be for another video, but today we're talking about amplification. So if possible, use your normal voice. Now, let's say there's a situation where you need to use some amplification. So this summer in August, my wife and I were up in Canada. We were at some street fairs, and there was literally tens of thousands of people milling around these street fairs. And then kind of in distant little pockets and areas, they might have some local entertainment going on of various kinds that were making some noise. Now, you never want to compete and try to push down that other noise. So for a specific example, it's called the Fringe Festival. They had a lot of street musicians out there, and they would have them about every 50 yards from each other. So they could play their music without amplification. Everybody that wanted to hear them could gather around and listen, but they weren't interfering with, 50 yards away, the next person that was playing a violin on the street or something. So I thought I was within an adequate distance from this lady that was on this big harp. She was playing, it was real beautiful. I thought I was an adequate distance, but one of the security people came over and he said, "Hey, I think that your amplification is interfering with that lady." Now, that lady paid to rent that spot for an hour to play at that festival, okay? So I shouldn't interfere with her. Doesn't mean that I should pack up and go home. I'm there to preach the gospel. So I just need to be willing to make adjustments on my part if they're honestly necessary. So I respected that. I said, yeah, I get that. Okay, I did send a test person out. I honestly don't think that I'm really competing with her, but that's fine if you feel like I am. I said, do you have any complaints? And he said, well, I don't have any complaints. He said, I personally think you're competing. So I think he was just convicted by the gospel, but that's okay. We want to respect people that have any level of authority when you're out there. And so I said, well, do you have a suggestion of a good spot? He said, yeah, across the street on that street corner right there, you can project to these people. That's not, nobody's paid for that area like they've paid for these areas, and I don't think anybody will bother you. I said, okay, I'll be glad to go over there. So I went across the street, my friends and I, we set up over there. Actually, that turned out to be a little bit better spot. It was a higher foot traffic area, and it was a little better spot. So God blessed. God made that guy happy, kind of got him off our back, and gave us an even a little bit better place to preach. Honestly, I have found that every single time I have been out street witnessing, and a security person, if I'm by an event, that they have a security person will come over frequently and say, look, you're too noisy in this area, or hey, we just don't, we don't want a preacher over in this area or something. So, okay, is there an area that you would be more comfortable? That's a nice way to, because you're recognizing their authority. So is there an area that you would be comfortable, but yet I can still be effective in what I'm doing? They will always recommend an area. Most of the time, they will escort you over and walk you over and say, yeah, this spot right here. I was like, great, thank you. I was at the M3F Music Festival in downtown Phoenix last summer, and I was very, very close to the front entrance. I was on city street, so it was legal, but he said, well, the people are putting this on. They saw you out here on the cameras, and they sent me out to tell you need to move. And I said, well, okay, where do you want me to move to? He said, I just want you to move up there where those concrete barricades are. Okay, no problem, I'll move up there. That was a 5-time better spot, because the way they had the barricades set up, that funneled everybody that had parked off-site was walking in literally by the thousands every couple hours. And they all walked by me. So it was like, this is awesome. God used you to put me in a spot that I didn't recognize as being good. We have, if you heard that noise, we have a Air Force F-35 flying over. We're right by Luke Air Force Base. So, but anyway, let me talk about the amplification. Okay, if you're going to use amplification, you don't want to go overboard. Again, forget the bullhorn. If you have one, sell it at your next yard sale. Don't ever use a bullhorn, okay, for a lot of reasons. This is by Windbridge. I just got this off of Amazon. It's a small speaker. It's only 20 watts. And I can put this around my waist, okay, and clip it on. I'll just demonstrate this quickly. So just clip it on. It's right there. It's not cumbersome. I don't know what probably weighs 3 pounds or 2 or 3 pounds. It has a Bluetooth-enabled headset that weighs a couple ounces. Very comfortable. I just set that on, get the mic adjusted to my mouth properly. My hands are free to hold my Bible. I hold my Bible and gesture with my hands. You've noticed that. My hands are always moving. So this way, Bluetooth enabled, the speaker's going out. I have the volume control right here. So if I feel like I'm too loud or not loud enough, I can just reach down while I'm talking and push a button on the volume control up or down, and I'm good. So it's very simple. I think this was maybe $100 to $125. Very inexpensive. The Windbridge company sells them on various price points, and they go up in watts, 30 watt, 40 watt, and up. But this is a 20 watt one. I don't know what the decibel rating is. Now, I haven't done this yet, but I would recommend it for myself as well as for you. Every city, coast to coast in America, every city has a noise ordinance, a noise level ordinance for their city, okay? And the Phoenix Valley is made up of so many different cities. I've got to check them all, because I'm in Surprise, and I'm in Glendale, and I'm in Phoenix, and I'm Peoria, and I'm all over the place preaching. So I need to find out what all the decibel ratings are. If a police officer were ever to come over and really give you a hard time, but you're too noisy, well, you could just ask, well, officer, have your sheet of paper. Well, we're in the city of Glendale, sir, and the decibel limit is, I'll make something up. The decibel limit is 25 decibels for public speech. I have a decibel meter. I'm only at 20 decibels. Does your decibel meter show a different number? Well, police officers don't carry a decibel meter. So right away, he's going to know that you know your stuff, that you're operating within the law, that you know what the laws are, and you can probably very quickly quell that. You never want to fight and argue with the police. Okay, you want to be polite, but yet, you kind of want to question things. You don't want them just pushing you out of the way for for no reason. If you're violating a law or an ordinance, absolutely you want to make a correction and make sure that you're in compliance with those. But if you really want to do your due diligence, wherever you're at, you'll actually check the public noise level. Or there's a brother named Tony Miano. He has been street preaching for decades. He's a retired sheriff. He's up in Davenport, Iowa. And he open air preaches every Saturday at a farmer's market, flea market outdoor up there in Davenport. And there's a couple people that complain a lot. And so he actually has a decibel meter on his tripod. And when they call the police come over and say, okay, Tony, let me see your decibel meter. Yeah, I say, okay, you're within the city ordinance. I'll go tell him you're within the city order. And so that's something that he runs into a lot. It's not normal. I've been street preaching in Phoenix for the last 3 years. I've never run into that, not one time. I've had a few security people say, I think you're kind of loud. Without saying, oh, I'll turn it down a little bit. turn it down. How's that sound? Is that better? Yeah, that's better. So, no problem. But this is a 20 watt one. There have been instances where I needed to project a little further, and maybe my throat was real scratchy that day or something. I just felt like I didn't have the physical energy to project it far enough. So I did buy the next size up. It's not the same company. It's not the Windbridge, but it's the same type. This is a Gigaphone by Junsung Tech, Junsung Tech. It's a Gigaphone. You can find this on Amazon. This was a little more. This was like in the $150 range, but it's the same thing. You can clip it around here, or you can clip it on, and you can put it over you and let it hang like this if you're more comfortable with that. I don't like this because it's kind of moving around. I like to hold my Bible in front of me, so I like it around my waist better. But it's the same Bluetooth type. No, I'm sorry, it's not Bluetooth type. It's a similar microphone setup. Sorry, a little tangled up here. I really like the Bluetooth better than the wire, but the headset's about the same. It just easily sets on there. You adjust your mic. I run this wire down the inside of my shirt, and then I just plug it into the unit. And again, the controls are on the top. I can increase or decrease volume as needed. And this was also inexpensive. So you can get those on Amazon. Again, stay away from the Bullhorn because they're way too loud. You don't need to blast the volume 3 blocks away. I was up in Canada this last year, ran into some very freshly new street preachers that had only been out a couple weeks, month or two, I think it was, and they had a big, huge speaker that you lug around and a handheld microphone, and that thing is so cumbersome. I recommend you don't use those. Now you've got both hands tied up. You can't hold a Bible. It's just cumbersome to haul that thing around. It was heavy. On YouTube, you'll see lots of guys with microphones. That's because they like to interview people on the street. They get more clicks that way. And so it's easy to go back and forth between you and the person you're talking to in the microphone. So if you're going to talk to somebody, the microphone thing, I suppose, would be easier. I don't do that style of preaching because I want to preach. I don't want to ask silly questions and get silly answers. I know that's entertaining. Another F-35 flying over. I'll wait a moment. I was in the Air Force and worked on the F-16s out here at Luke, and we referred to that noise as the sound of freedom. So that noise doesn't bother me at all. I like it. It's not conducive to video, so. But so I would recommend a small one that you can strap on, and you have a Bluetooth headset, so you're completely hands-free with both your hands. That's a lot more convenient. So and it's a lot less weight too. But they were making that same mistake. I saw them where this guy wanted to set up on this one street corner. There was a restaurant on the corner. They had outdoor seating, and along the sidewalk up against the building, there was a row of little cafe tables, 2-seater tables, and he wanted to plant that big speaker right on the street corner and blast them and reach everybody that was at the festival as well. You don't do that. Pick your audience, and then give a lot of consideration to, do I really need amplification? What is the lowest volume I can operate on? Still reach them, but yet allow them to have a conversation. And when you're projecting, even without amplification, if you're talking to people that are around you, again, a good rule of thumb is that people around you should be able to have a conversation and listen to you. So they can choose to listen to you or they can tune you out. Either way. Okay. You don't want to use your voice or amplification to drive the gospel down somebody's throat. We're presenting the gospel for them to accept or reject. And every time they hear it, they make a decision in their heart. I like what I'm hearing, or I don't like what I'm hearing. Okay? So just remember, you're giving them an invitation to respond to Christ. Maybe not to come to Christ right at that moment, but you're inviting them to listen to the saving gospel message. And also keep in mind that you're not looking for them to respond to the spoken word right at that minute. If they do, that's great. If they come over and talk, that's fine. And I frequently will give an invitation when I'm done preaching a message. I'll say, if there's anybody out here that heard me, you're interested in what I said, you have questions about what I said, or you have questions about God, about the Bible, about religion, or you feel a tug in your heart, you feel convicted, you feel sorrowful that, you know what, I need God. Come over, let's talk about that. And so I always give that invitation at the end. But don't feel badly if people don't accept that invitation. Know that, they can't really shut their ears. They can shut their eyes, they can shut their mouth. There really is no way to shut your ears. So you put that gospel out verbally, people hear it and pray, and hopefully it sinks down from their mind down into their conscience, their heart, and their soul. So thank you for watching today. If you have any other questions about what we talked about today, put them in the comments, or if you have observations you want to make about the video, I'd love to read them in the comments section. Until next time, let's both commit this week to get out of our seat, out into the street. Let's be a witness for Jesus. May God richly bless you.